Hi everyone, I'm Kate Marshall and I'm here today to show you my craft room / filming studio. I'll start over here by the front door. You'll notice that blank wall there. That wall, I have bought some shelves to hang all of my paper punches on. I have quite a bit of paper punches. Over here you'll notice that I have my badge from Creativation, and then some of these drawers face the back here. This is actually the back of my desk. I access most of that stuff up there from the front of my desk. However, some of the drawers face this way because you can't access them from the front of the desk. So I kind of have best of both worlds there. Up here on this 3-tiered organizer, you'll see that the first tier has all of my Distress Oxide sprays, my mixed media supplies, and my Dinah Wakley paints. Moving down, this first set of Alex drawers has vintage themed supplies in there. There's a bunch of Tim Holtz things, there's miscellaneous vintage things in there. I access this cabinet from the front of my desk. On the top of this wider Alex drawer unit, I have my quilting ruler and my oversized Brother Scan & Cut mats. They lay flat up there, which is nice. This is all paper crafting embellishments. This drawer here has all of my ink blending supplies, my most used inks, my finger daubers. This drawer is all of my embossing powders and my perfect pearls. The next drawer is all of my sequins and shaker card making supplies. And the bottom drawer down here has all of my punch boards and my most used paper punches. I have hundreds of more paper punches that I need to hang on those walls, the wall behind me there by the door. Those cabinets I access from the front of my desk. Moving on to the closet, you can see that I've taken the doors off of my closet completely. And you also get an idea of how much stuff I have crammed in this tiny little room. This room measures 10 feet by 12 feet. It is not a big room. So I took the closet doors off so that I could put all of these drawer units in here. There's a big bag of sari silk. And all of these boxes here, these shoe boxes, they all have brand new stamp sets in them. Brand new stamp sets that I intend to destash. All different manufacturers, and there's hundreds and hundreds in there. If you're interested in destashes, I will have tons of them. Right there, that column of plastic storage boxes. There you go. Plastic storage boxes all have paper embellishments in them. There's fasteners. There's flowers, there's eyelets in different colors, my Ranger apron from Creativation. And then over here on the floor, I have pulled some stuff to destash. It's all brand new. And then there's a whole box of Tim Holtz Ideology. That first drawer unit, these are Iris plastic drawer units. You can get them from Michaels. I have 6 in here, so there's 6 stacked on top of each other. And the drawers are just the Iris case bases, but you can pull them out so they don't have lids on them. I really like them for storage. Up at the top, I have some punches some sequins, and all of my inks are held in these 3 white containers. There's quite a bit of inks in there. I have all of the Distress Oxide, all of the Distress inks, most of the Stays On. I have a lot of stuff. I've been crafting for a long time, you guys. I've accumulated quite a bit of stuff. The first set of Iris drawer unit has some extra ink that wouldn't fit above, some miscellaneous crafting supplies. There's flocking, label stamps, the click together peg stamps, miscellaneous supplies in this one. And then over here on the third set, I have all, well, not all, I have a tiny bit of my wooden block stamps. I have about 5,000 wooden block stamps, and I will be destashing all of them. These ones that were in here were the most used ones. On the next section of the closet, there are over 100 plastic cases of die-cut paper pieces, all in different colors and themes. That black Iris drawer unit there has all of my jewelry making supplies. They are soldering irons, glass pieces, metal, mostly metalworking stuff is in there. In that last drawer unit, there are napkins for decoupaging, and you can see where I've been saving all of my cereal boxes for making junk journals. Up there in the top of the closet, we start off with a collection of vintage books that I intend on altering or making into junk journals. Jewelry making supplies. And then all of my containers of beads. Which it is a lot of beads, guys. A lot of beads. I used to make a bunch of jewelry. Now I basically am using these beads to make dangles and tassels for my junk journals. On this next wall, I'll back up and give you a view. It is mostly made up of the cube units from Michaels, from floor to ceiling. I really like these cube units. They hold quite a bit of stuff. I like how they're all in drawers, so you can just pull out the drawer and easily access whatever you were looking for. At the very top, I have IKEA baskets. These IKEA baskets, I believe, are $4 at IKEA. They're super cheap. They're very flexible. You can use them to hold a lot of different stuff. So up there on the end, I have vintage book pages. I have vintage ledger pages. I have vintage ribbon that is on cards. I have vintage lace that is on cards. I have a bunch of scrapbooking page kits that I never made that I keep up there. And extra adhesives that I don't have to access very often. I am in the process of reorganizing this room. This room is a work in progress. And after I finish my destash videos and sell all of that, get all of that stuff out of here, then I will film an updated room tour that shows you where I'm at. I will relabel all of my drawers once I get everything situated. I have a bunch of flowers. It has 12 by 12 paper storage. Mostly this is my cardstock and specialty papers. And then I have a lot of the drawers are organized by theme or season for stickers and embellishments for paper. I have a place to put new stuff when it comes into the room so that I don't immediately lose it. I had a massive thicker addiction. So I have cabinets full of thicker sheets. Like, thicker sheets. Right? I need to destash a whole bunch of stuff, guys. In the middle drawer, or in the middle glass unit here, I keep some of my re-inking bottles, the Sugar Bell bottles for glue, this Ott light bulb. Actually, you'll see my lights in a minute. They are from IKEA, and you can put standard light bulbs in them, but at Joann's, you can buy these Ott light bulbs. I think you can buy them on Amazon too, and they turn any lamp into an Ott light. I use them for filming special things. Up here in this one, it's actually all thickers again. I know, too much thickers. Wooden die cuts. A whole bunch of things to alter in that one. This one also has basically thickers. Oh, some ribbon in that one. In this drawer here, I have all kinds of library card pockets, tiny little envelopes, like the coin envelopes. They're all sorted by color and size in there. And then in this drawer here, I actually have tags. It's a whole drawer full of tags. They're different sizes, different colors. And I have another section of tags in another part of my craft room. This one here has washi in it. I really never use washi anymore. I need to destash this. It was from my card making days. Then we get to the back wall of my craft room. I will back up so that you can see it. Most of my furniture in here are the Michaels cubes and from IKEA. I like the IKEA furniture also because it is modular, meaning when you move your room or you get tired of it a certain way, you can take everything apart and reorganize it, reconfigure it. You'll see that my desk is an L shape, so my desk actually is configured of Alex drawer units, a couple of the legs from IKEA, the white metal legs there, tabletops from IKEA, 2 cube units from Michaels, and a long white shelf. That desk works really well, but it's modular, so you can change it into any configuration you want. So back to the back wall, you'll see that I have 2 bookshelves on either side of the IKEA Expedit or Kallax unit. The first bookshelf holds mostly my vintage books. Up here I have some white plastic containers, sorry about that one, white plastic containers from IKEA. They hold vintage ephemera. Of my embroidery stuff, my slow stitching stuff, all of my hand sewing stuff, I keep in a cart. I'm just relaxing, and I can sit in my favorite chair and slow stitch a cover or whatever it is for a junk journal. Down here on the floor, this giant ledger is massive. They're just very, very large pages. And this is a massive, heavy book. There are some neat 1700s books in there and more ledgers. Down at the bottom down here, I have another collection of vintage books. There's a vintage wallpaper catalog from Sears in there. There's another Sears catalog that just has the old catalog journals. That next shelf up there has all of my... I have many wildflower and butterfly books, and I use those books to take images out of. I either use the whole entire page, or I fussy tear or fussy cut an image out of it. I know sometimes it's hard to buy books on the internet because you don't get to see the pages inside, right? So I can do flip throughs of those books for you if you'd like. Up here I have a lot of there's books from the 1700s, and I like to use those books from the 1700s and the early part of the 1800s because the paper is very unique. It's more like fabric than it is paper, and the actual printing of the book pages is impressed into the pages. It feels very different than a regular book that we buy today. All of those, I specifically like the floral ones. This bin here has antique pictures inside of it. Of course, it's going to be difficult because I'm filming there. And over here in this one, these are all antique letters with their original envelopes and stamps. There's flashcards down in the bottom up. We have some vintage greeting cards and vintage greeting cards. More unit. I think mine was called Calyx when I bought it. I don't know if it's Calyx or Expedit now, but it's one of them. I have 8.5 by 11 cardstock and paper up there on the top. My Calyx unit is a 5 by 5 unit. 6 paper pads. I have 12 by 12 paper packs and paper pads. I have 12 by 12 paper sorted by color and theme. Ribbon for embroidery. Moving up, this first cubby here has stamp sets in it. Part of my Anna Griffin collection. In these bags, there's a bunch of flowers from Anna Griffin. They were extra from card kits I've already used. 12 by 12 paper. Vintage tickets, business cards. These vintage tickets are pretty neat. They're bus tickets. Coloring books, and my collection of house mouse stamps. And cut those up for junk journal embellishments and covers. Ink toner cartridges. And then these drawers have all of my embossing folders. Then up here at the top, there is my collection of vintage decor. And then, moving on. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to show you. In this black binder here, die cuts in it. I will try to pull it out and show it to you in just a minute. Dies. I put them in these Ziploc bags and then put them in with rings. Yeah, they're just all in that bin. And then that is my collection of Lawn Fawn stamps and embellishments, and metal die cuts. White vinyl. Up there we have more of my Anna folders and dies. And those are specialty papers from Anna Griffin. And that pretty much finishes the Calyx unit. Let's see if I can get this binder out and show you exactly what's in it. By online, I think I got mine from Amazon. And you'll see that it has the CD pockets for holding, so they're on a flat surface and I don't have to use one hand. But anyway, you can just put sets. The last bookshelf over here, starting at the top, has a laminator. There's an empty shelf that have vintage ephemera that you can cut out with your Scan and Cut. I've tested it a couple times. It works perfectly for it. This big basket here has a bunch of different types of lace in it and trim, and basically whenever I want a small piece of something, I can just go in that basket and find it. There's some sewing. We'll go to the bottom of my desk. There's one of those IKEA legs, table legs. The table legs are $5. This is a super cheap desk to build. There's my old die cutting machine, because when I bought my new Gemini, I didn't know that it doesn't work with all kinds of folders. So I still have to keep my old Big Shot down there. There's 12 by 12 storage cases with paper in them and paper scraps. You'll see my cords, which are a giant mess. That is on my project list, but as you know, if you build a craft room, cord management is definitely embossing gum. Some junk mail that I plan on altering for junk journals. There's an extra mat that I use when I'm gluing something, specifically with Fabri-Tac, because pizza box. You're probably wondering why that's in there. The Barrows pizza, I could open up the pizza box and spray it in there and it doesn't get all over my craft station. The pizza box was new and clean when I used it. Over here at the bottom, we have another set of Alex drawer units. That's the back side of the wide Alex drawer units that we looked at in the beginning, and more Alex drawers. These drawers over here, some sewing supplies at the top. Up here we have a whole bunch. These are coffee dyed French and Italian antique documents. And then there's some basic journal making supplies, papers, and then all of my lace coffee dyed papers. Then I have a little wooden unit here that houses mostly tickets, like these kind of bus tickets here, vintage tickets, just to make them easier, little things to alter, to put into books. There's some little flashcards. Then up here in this cabinet, I have a tin of sewing clips, some die cutting plates for my Gemini, and some extra cardstock that if you just need a tiny little piece of cardstock to cut for one die, you can get it out of that cube right there. These are some vintage envelopes I was making, decoupaged with some napkins, and I just used antique music paper on them. I still need to sew around them, but I think they look cool. Up there also is the Edith Holden ephemera that I was making, so tags and journal cards, that all needs sewed around. We come to this book. I just got this book from Amazon. I really like this book for making journal cards. If you look at the pages, each page has basically a ready-made journal card background on it. It's all florals. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful. So the book came from Amazon. I think it was around $8 or $9, which to me is pretty inexpensive. It has 100 and something pages in it, so you're going to be able to make quite a bit of stuff out of that book. Up on top there is my Gemini. These books here are my ephemera storage books. So I made one that houses my stamps. I sorted some and then I just kind of put some in. So yeah, all of my vintage stamps. Well, the ones I've tried to sort out at least. Sorry about that. And then up here, this book holds my stickers. These are floral stickers. And they make for a quick, easy embellishment. And then this last book up here holds butterflies and mushrooms. Going across, this is how the stickers come when you buy them in these little packages. And then I just take them out and put them into my book. They're easier for me to find which size and which color I want that way. In these bins across the top of my desk, so I'll back up so you can kind of get an idea where we're at. I made the top of my desk out of 2 of those cubes and a long white wall shelf from Home Depot. These bins right here hold my most used stuff. So the stuff that is, you know, easy for me to get to. In this bucket here, I have some punched out flowers that I made where I put the little gems in the center, and some fussy cut flowers that came out of book pages. There's my Tim Holtz people, Tim Holtz ephemera. There's some Tracy Fox labels that are cut out down there. All of the stuff to embellish. And then over here, there's more Tim Holtz ephemera. And a whole bucket of tags and playing cards to alter. And then in this last bucket, mostly is bases. So bases of things that I need to alter or use to make a piece of ephemera. And then over here in the end, there is Tim Holtz books. So these are papers, and then over here, all of his binders with all of his tiny little words in them. So basically you can start there with a base, you can embellish it, and by the end, you're done with a piece. Okay, we already looked at the spray stains and stuff up here. That's just the back side of it. In this cubby, I have These are vintage, or not vintage, they're collaged journal cards and tags that I've started working on, but they're not completed. So there's a whole entire unit of those. And I just make the collage masterboards and cut them up and sew around them, and then I decorate them. Down here, we have all kinds of vintage trim and embellishments. So I have a lot of vintage trims and laces and things like that. I've actually bought out an entire dress shop that had closed. It had been closed for several decades, 3 or 4, and they used to make bridal wear and vintage flower girl dresses, formal dresses, fancy dresses for little girls, baptismal clothes. And so they had a ton of lace and trim, and so I bought it all. I went there just to buy some for making junk journals, but when I got there, it was pretty amazing and I had to buy it all. So I plan on selling a bunch of it in my Etsy store. This trim is some of my favorite. It's little purple roses with green. And I just put these in small bags for my craft room because the bags that I bought were ginormous and I couldn't fit them all in my craft room. So these are just little ones that I can easily access. These are flowers, cherries, fruit. There's ribbons with little flowers on them. There's a bunch of strips of fabric for quick access when I didn't plan ahead and I just need to make something real quick. And then there's more flowers. There's different colored flowers. There's kind of a fuzzy flower. There's these ribbon flowers. The reds and the pinks. Yeah, so you get the idea. There's just all kinds of tiny little embellishments. And what I mostly use these on, I can make clusters and then put these in the center of clusters. I can make page embellishments with them. They can go on tag toppers with ribbon. And then I also have some embossed paper in here. So going across my desk, you'll notice that I have this white enamel picture here. And I actually use this for a trash can in my room. I don't have a lot of floor space with my desk configuration, so I don't want to put a big trash can down there. So I just basically put all of my tiny little scraps and paper pieces that are trash into that picture, and then I take it out to my kitchen and dump it. We have my tool caddy, which has seen better days, but it still works, so I guess I'll keep it for now. I have all of my most used tools in it. My Copic supplies, my glue, my peeking shears, blending brushes, cutting tools, pokey tools, all that kind of stuff is in there. Back behind it I have power strip. Like I said, I'm working on the power for this room. My hand sanitizer for cleaning up, and the ATG gun. And then these wooden organizers are from Hobby Lobby, and they're just in the home decor section. And they work really well for holding all of my pens on their sides, like you're supposed to store them, or at least that's what I was told. So at the top, I have some Sharpie markers, all of my glitter pens, my Wink of Stella and Nouveau glitter pens, and Tim Holtz crayons, some Copic supplies, and then my most used Copic markers are in there. At the very, very top, I have a small thing, a small container that houses buttons. And this way, I don't have to get into my jars all the time to get out the vintage buttons. I love vintage buttons. Like, I just like to root around in here and, you know, find what I'm looking for. There's all different kinds. The mother of pearl ones are definitely my favorite. So anyway, vintage buttons. And then I also keep some stamping blocks and other things way up there at the top. My glues, my pencils. And then I was working on some pieces for my Etsy shop for fall. When I bought the dress shop, it came with hundreds of rolls of vintage seam binding. And it was white, so that means I get to dye it, which is awesome. I love dyeing things. A whole bunch of ribbon. I was making these cards of rickrack from these giant spools. I have hundreds of spools of rickrack. I need to sell some really bad. And then I love this little trim. And then look at this vintage thing of ribbon. Like, I have hundreds of rolls of vintage ribbon. I need to open the Etsy shop so that I can sell some. And then over to this side of my desk, you'll see that I actually film. Let me back up so you can see everything. So I actually film from the wider side of my desk there. Get my chair out of the road again. So this wall is made up of the wall shelves, which we screwed into the studs so they're super sturdy. And then right there you can see that I have 2 lamps there and 1 lamp here. These lamps are from IKEA and they're actually super inexpensive. They're $10, guys. And you can move this lamp up and down. It's on springs. So you can move it and angle it to whichever direction you want to move it to. These are super great lamps for craft rooms. The fact that I have them mounted up above me means when I'm moving and doing something on my workstation that I'm not bumping the camera and the lights all around. So on this side, you'll see that I have the 2 lamps, and then in the middle there is my filming arm. And it just comes right down over the center of my craft mat. These black craft mats I purchased from Amazon. I don't remember exactly what they're called, but if you look for self-healing mat, you'll probably see them. Over here we have a whole bunch of dyed paper that I've been working on. I've been dyeing with blueberries, I've been dyeing with red cabbage, I've been dyeing with avocado, and then the paper, I did a whole bunch of embellishments and pockets, paper bags, all kinds of stuff. This one down here is actually beet, which is a nice color. And then these are some of the spools. These are industrial size spools of lace that I got from the dress shop. I'm talking literally hundreds of rolls of vintage made in America lace. This dress shop had been closed for decades, and so I really scored when I got all of that lace. And I am going to list it in my Etsy store. By the time you're watching this video, it probably will be listed. And then if I back up, you can see the shelves. Up at the top, I have IKEA buckets again, and those I store stuff that I don't need to get to very often. There's extra crafting machines in there, there's extra adhesive, and there's a whole bucket of fun fur fibers, funky trim, all of that kind of stuff for yarn is up there. All of these white buckets come from IKEA, and they all house vintage fabric, vintage doilies, vintage linens, vintage ephemera stamps, everything vintage is up there. I'll try to show you guys a couple. So this is how I typically buy stamps. They're off paper and you can get like a pound of them on eBay. And then these ones are on paper, and I like to use the on paper ones for clusters, and I like to use the off paper ones for decorating. I buy most of my stamps from eBay, but I have bought some from Etsy too. And then over here, there is a box. And in this box, I have S&H green stamps and all different kinds of that kind of, you know, promotion stamps. So I like to use those for clusters also and for decorating. And then up here in this bucket is S&H green stamp books. And this one is just some pieces that I need to alter, some tags and things I need to work with. And then in this bucket over here, let me bring it down and show you. This bucket has the vintage seam binding. So, vintage seam binding. It's just some of my packages of it. It's not really seam binding. I brought all the rickrack in. The seam binding is stored somewhere else. And then some beaded trim. And then all of these cards of buttons are in there. I like these little plastic storage units from IKEA. They're very cheap and they really do a great job. They're very sturdy too. So moving down from the shelves, you'll see that I have a floating shelf. The floating shelf comes from Amazon. It's a 5-foot white floating shelf, meaning there's no hardware underneath or above to get in the way of putting things on the shelf. I think it was like $30 on Amazon. It was pretty inexpensive for 5 feet. And then up here I have my Baker's Twine, my Martha Stewart glitter paste, my Nuvo drops, and my stickles. And you can see that I have too many. And then over here I have Nuvo powders. I have Nuvo glue. I have my Inka Gold and my Nuvo pastes and crackle pastes. And then I have Tim Holtz paint and stains and crackle paint and some glossy accents. So if we move over here to my desk, I took down some of the plastic bins so that I could show you. These bins, like I said, hold vintage things. This is a bin full of yo-yos. There's some kind of vintage yo-yos at the top. And then underneath, there's a bag of feed sack yo-yos and a partially made feed sack yo-yo quilt. I like to use these in slow stitching. I embellish my pages. I use these a lot. And then the next bin has all of my avocado dyed lace. So I avocado dyed, this on the top is red cabbage, and I just dyed some muslin. I also dyed some muslin avocado. And then in there is just all of my avocado dyed lace yumminess. I really love avocado dyed lace. If you haven't done it, I'd say give it a try. I really think it's fabulous. So when I move these two down, we can take a look. This one has vintage linens in it. It's full of all kinds of doilies. There's a ton of embroidered pieces in here. There's old kitchen towels, old tablecloths. There's a quilt piece, little quilt top, doilies. It's so jam-packed that I can't even get my fingers in there to show you. Right? So I love cutting these up and using them. It's kind of hard sometimes, but I love cutting these up and using them for junk journal covers, for making embellishments. I love vintage things. I'm kind of addicted, if you can't tell. And then, that's kind of why I got into junk journals, actually, is because you use so much vintage things. It's so fun. So this whole entire bin is full of crochet pieces. There's a few tatting pieces, I guess, too, in there. But anyway, tons of crochet pieces, lace pieces. These are pieces that I cut out of crochet tablecloths. And that way they're smaller and you can use the tiny little pieces as embellishments. Like all of these were cut out of a crochet tablecloth. And you can use every piece of a crochet tablecloth, even like the little corners that you think you won't be able to use, you can use. So anyway, that's that. And then in the back here, you'll see that I have a curtain rod. This curtain rod came from IKEA. And you guys will not believe the price on this, right? So look at how long it is. It holds all of my spools of most used little lace. So I have my big spools of lace, and I have hundreds of them in another area. But for the tiny spools of lace that you buy at the craft stores, I put this metal white IKEA curtain rod underneath the floating shelf. And then through the hole that comes in the center of the rolls of lace, I just threaded the rolls on. And that way, whenever I want a piece of lace, I can just pull it off and cut it to size. I don't have to go searching for it. It's right there in front of me. That curtain rod is $1.99 at IKEA, guys. It is a super good deal. If you find the white $1.99 IKEA curtain rod that has these that screw in to the end of the curtain rod, like as decorations on the end right there. I didn't put them because I don't really like them. But if you find that one, that's the $1.99 one I use. I think it's great. It works really great. So that's where I film. That's where I mostly make things. My filming arm, my craft mat, and you can see when I'm sitting there in my chair, I have access to a ton of lace and a ton of products and vintage supplies that I can just pull down when I'm crafting. Give you an overview of my desk space again. It's usually not that cluttered, but I just pulled everything out for you. So I have two. I have the craft mat on this side and then the craft mat on this side, which I mostly use for coloring and small detail work. Well, guys, I think that about does it for my craft room. It's quite a bit of stuff, as you can see. And I do need to do a bunch of destashes. Sorry I'm making you sick there. Anyway, this is my first video for YouTube. I was very nervous to do it. I have been at home for the last 18 months in isolation because of COVID, and I'm feeling the isolation a lot. I have some health conditions, so I'm not really able to just go out like everyone else is doing right now. I am isolated, and so I was feeling kind of down about that, honestly. And so I decided to start a YouTube channel because I was hoping to find people who liked crafting as much as I do, and also wanted to, you know, talk to people and share my ideas and learn from other people. So, like I said, this is my first YouTube video. I will be posting more in the coming days. I hope to post regularly. I also have started an Instagram account, which I will be posting something every single day that I make. I usually craft every single day, so I'll be sharing with you there everything that I make. And all of my contact information will be posted in the description box below. My email address is there if you have any questions or you want to contact me. My Instagram is linked there, and also my Etsy store. Like I said, I have tons and tons of stuff that I need to sell on my Etsy store. I have lots of vintage goodies that are hard to find. The lace alone, it's so hard to find American-made vintage lace. And so I'm going to list it there. If you want to check it out, that would be awesome. Let me also say, because I have quite a bit of stuff, I don't want anyone to feel like you have to go out and buy this much stuff. You certainly do not. I have been crafting for quite a long time, and I have accumulated a lot of different stuff. Most of which, you know, like if I was into jewelry making, then I accumulated a bunch of stuff for that. If I was into card making, I accumulated a bunch of stuff for that. So all I'm saying is, because I've done the various different crafts, and now I'm moving into only doing junk journals, I have a lot of destashes. I will be posting those destash videos on my channel. If you subscribe to my channel, then you won't miss out on my destash videos. And then what I was getting to with all of the stuff is you just don't need it. When I first started out, I was crafting with minimal supplies. Like, we're talking a paper trimmer, some paper, and a pack of stickers. It was not very much stuff. And I crafted on my kitchen table. And so I've been crafting for a long time, and that's why I've accumulated this stuff. You don't need all of this stuff. You can craft and make beautiful things with whatever you have. I just don't want anyone to feel like they have to go out and get this much stuff. This is too much stuff for any one person, and that's why I need to sell some of it. Anyway, all of my information is linked in the description box below. I hope that you will be kind. This is my first YouTube video. If you liked this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I would definitely appreciate that. I appreciate kindness. Kindness is always appreciated on this channel. And I thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me. hopefully you found something of value in this video. Like I said, I will be doing an updated room tour after I destash and clean up everything and reorganize it. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to hear from some of you and have a great day.